I don't know if I should ask it this way because there's a competitive part of you, or who would you rather guard, Luka or Kyrie? Because you might just say, well, I want to guard Luka because it's the head of the snake thing. But just based on your ability to survive, who would you rather defend?
Wow.
Wait, did that feel insulting?
No, not insulting. But I mean, I have that much respect for both of them as offensive weapons. And weirdly for me, I would be what you probably would call a tweener defender for them. Like, I'm just a little bit probably not low enough center of gravity or quick enough to guard Kyrie effectively, but I'm too light in my ass to guard Luka, and I'm giving up 3 inches and 40 pounds. So like, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think I would probably, and this is no disrespect, I'd probably pick, if you made me, Luka. And that's because I'm pretty sure I can stay in front of him. I am going to get bullied a little bit, but I live in the space of like drawing that charge if you bump me one too many times. And then, if I can make you shoot tough contested step backs with my hand up and I'm not fouling you, that was what I was trying to achieve anyway. So I think Kyrie might just be too quick and too herky-jerky for me.
It sounds like the Kyrie possessions that would go bad would be far more embarrassing than just Luka having you on his hip.
Viral moments.
All right, so let's do it on the other side. Would you rather guard Jaylen Brown or Tatum?
Yeah. Maybe Jaylen. I would have said Jaylen for sure last year because he was pretty predictable with that right hand. But like, if you saw last night where he went left, he went anchor between, or some people call it a step between, and then he went down the lane and just like unfolded at the rim. You know what? I'll take Jayson Tatum. I'll take Tatum because I think still he might settle in a way at times that I don't think Jaylen settles. I think Jaylen sometimes gets a little nastier and wants to put his head down and get to the rim. And I don't think I'd have success stopping either one of them getting to the rim. So it would just be a matter of if they, and honestly, like a lot of guys I guarded, Ryan, it was this simple. Like, did you ever figure out that you could just go by me? Well, if you didn't, then I'm good. But if you did, like some of those guys were like, I'm not messing around. I'm just going by you. And there's not a lot you could do about that. So for that reason, probably Jayson Tatum.
The Jaylen handle stuff is always interesting because it's real, first of all. And I think Miami, because they're smart and they're tough and Spo's the best, and it would seem pretty simple if you're playing against the same guy over and over again and you see a weakness. But it felt like as soon as they saw Jaylen try to just create a little bit more. Now, I always talk about like OG and Anunoby to me had these awesome playoff games. We know what the shooting is. We know the size and all this stuff. But if it's a reset off of a screen that gets blown up and he's with the ball in a one-on-one situation allowed to freestyle, like I just don't know that he has that in him that way. Jaylen has more in him than somebody like OG. But it felt like once Miami, it was just the dogs were let loose. Like, he put it down and he doesn't know where he's not dribbling with intention. He's dribbling to figure out, which makes it kind of dangerous. And now it's improved maybe to a place where I think he's going to lose it. And then he doesn't. Like he had this big kind of like sweeping dribble into the paint. And you're like, that ball feels like it's about as far away from the ball handler as it could possibly be. But the improvement may be that he's hanging on to it, or maybe we're just picking a couple of the plays because I still think it's somewhat of a concern. So I would always think like Jaylen would be the guy that you'd pick if you could pick between the two. But the Tatum settling part of it is real, and he's just going to get a little 3-point happy at times, and he's going to get in that triple threat and take that 17-footer extended from the elbow, and he hits enough of it where it's super frustrating to go up against it, but at least he's not going to get you into foul trouble the way Jaylen is. I'm not sure. Look, again, I'm not the guy that has a defendant, so I'm not sure that I agree quite yet. But go ahead.
Yeah, but that's so. There's a lot that goes into like picking who you want to guard, or like, let's say we are facing the Celtics and Mike D'Antoni or someone comes to me and says, "Hey, who do you want tonight?" Right? Like, it is about skill set for sure, right? Like if I can predict what you're going to do and take one hand away, but like. I feel like I have an advantage there, but it's also about what can I bait you? What's your mindset and what can I bait you into doing? Right. And so and Jayson Tatum is like much more well-rounded with the ball in his hand and has a plan and has mid post work. Like he's more, I think, of a true 3-level guy like right now. But if I space him, I know what he wants to do, right? Ultimately, he'd rather shoot it. So if I bait you with this little bit of space, I feel like over the course of time, you're going to settle for a lot of those. And, at some point, we just got to play the averages of me contesting these shots and you shooting long jumpers and how much more beneficial that is for our team than if you would just say, I'm putting my head down and try to attack your hip. And the foul trouble that comes with that, not just for me, but for the big that's at the rim, for what it does to our defense in terms of collapsing it. If someone thinks I'm beat, and then what he can do in terms of spraying the ball out for other shooters. So, I said Tatum not out of a lack of respect or true respect necessarily for Jaylen's full bag, but just I think he gets in a mode sometimes, Jaylen, that is of like, I'm not fucking around with you. I'm just coming at your hip. I'm going right at your hip, and I'm athletically gifted, so figure this out. Where Jayson Tatum sometimes is like, I am just a supreme scorer that I'm going to make this shot eventually.
Yeah, and Jaylen just abused Lively there at the end, getting him in foul trouble. Okay, did you see anything specifically that Dallas was doing for Tatum where he ended up hitting some shots there later? He had a couple threes, but it wasn't a good game. Like it's not the game you'd expect. He only went to the free throw line one time. He was 3 of 7 for threes. The rebounding was good. I would agree with you. I think his playmaking part of it adds another layer to what he can be offensively versus Jaylen. I think once Jaylen has the ball, it's kind of like that's what the possession is going to be. Anything you saw that they were doing against Tatum in particular?
I thought they did a really good job of zoning up behind whoever was guarding him. They were flooding it. I mean, they were in a true, it looked like they were man. And then if he'd get it on the wing, it looked like a true 2-3 zone. Like they weren't even disguising that. And so, that kind of ties into what I was saying, right? That's the space that that Dallas is operating in. Okay, what would deter him from saying I'm getting at the rim, and whatever that looks like, building the wall behind it, flooding with the opposite big, so it's a 2-3 zone now. It deterred him in a way, and you talked about the Lively situation late in the game where Jaylen was like, "Look, I don't care if he's in there. I'm throwing my body into him, and I'm gonna make the ref make a call on that." That's what I thought they did a good job of, and it affected Jayson Tatum a bit. So I'd like to see him as the series continues. Like, look, you're gonna have to take some hits. They were letting them play last night. It was physical. It's going to be punitive to be in there in that way at times. But we need it as a Celtics team, and I thought he figured it out. Ryan, I thought he was attacking, but his attack was in a lot of instances very telling from the outside watching. It wasn't an attack to score as much as it was an attack to spray the ball. And that's cool until those dudes aren't making shots, and then we got to get you to attack to score the ball.
Yeah, it felt like as I was previewing everything, I'm going, okay, this is a lot like the Ant stuff that he was seeing. And then it's like, well, we don't care about any of the other stuff. I mean, if Cat is just average from 3, that series is totally different because his first 3 games, going back looking at his attempts, I'm like, man, these are so many good looks.
Yep.
And he was just awful. Okay. And if that's going to happen, then they don't have any chance. But as far as Conley on the other side, McDaniels on the other side, Alexander Walker on the other side, they're just like, whatever. Kyle Anderson, doesn't matter. We're helping off of him. We're helping off of Rudy. And Tatum has to be better shooting. Tatum has to be better on the turnovers. But you're right. Like thinking about some of those possessions, like where did those guys come from once Tatum thought he was beating the primary defender? And now if you're going to load up that way against him and it goes to somebody else, it's a whole different class of offensive player in comparison to what, Chet in theory was a stretch 5, but what was he going to do? Take 11 of them?
Right.
Dallas just wasn't going to care about it enough.